My name is Yusan Jung. I'm a lead animator on The Sims 4. Today, I'm going to talk about how the animation team creates animation assets to support character and object customization in-game. First, in case you're not familiar with the game, what is The Sims? The word sim came from simulation. For example, The Sim City is a game that simulates a city building, and The Sims simulates life. What does simulating life mean? Players can create game characters called the Sims and give them houses to live in and let them live their lives. For example, they can go to school, choose any career they want, or simply just enjoy some cooking or knitting. Sims are also very social. They can make friends, enemies, lovers, and babies. The game has been around for 22 years, and it's one of the best-selling video game franchises. Life simulation games are very powerful. Players can choose many different ways to play the game. And some players love building houses and decorating each room. Some focus on creating a family legacy, and some love creating authentic characters, including cats and dogs. Some players are into storytelling. They create a drama and even make movies called machinima. It is a word combining machine and cinema. Some players just like to have challenges and achieve goals, trying out as many features as possible. At Maxis, we think it's very important for players to be able to see themselves in game, whether it is to recreate themselves authentically or who they aspire to be. Here's one of my favorite quotes. If you can see it, you can be it. The Sims 4 is a place for players to explore and experiment. For that reason, animation team's goal is to create animation assets which work with a wide variety of different characters and game objects. So players can immerse themselves into a believable world to simulate their life they want. We have developed tools, workflow, and aesthetic guidelines to be closer to that goal in every pack we ship. We are going to cover the in-depth look on tech implementation and the aesthetic consideration later in the talk, but let me share with you how much customization players can do in The Sims 4. In our Create a Sim mode, or CAS, there are many ways to customize characters, including pronouns. Currently, we have she and he, but the work to include gender-neutral pronouns is in progress, and it'll be in the game in the very near future. Players can choose different ages and set their gender preference. This is one of my favorite CAS features we have. Players can choose the gender they identify themselves with and customize gender representation further using custom gender settings. In the setting, you can choose which physical frame to start customization with, change clothing preferences, if they will be able to become pregnant or get others pregnant, or how they use the toilet. Similarly, you can customize Sims facial features by I'm sorry. I think it's missing. Oh, that's so weird. There is one slide that shows what we can do with the body shapes. We have two presets that Sims can modify their bodies with. So there is a volume and fitness level that you can set generally, and then you can go into details in a detail mode. Similarly, Sims can you can customize Sims facial features by starting with a preset and then sculpt the details listed in the left side of the slide. Sorry about that. For the character you just created, you can give them a very unique voice. First, you can select voice from 6 different voice actors, then adjust pitch for each voice. Here are some examples of the wide variety of voices you can give to your sim.
About lange.
Iefetame, Fuina.
Quaxinas for pair.
Pisacoy Boliva. Gusha Blanco.
Orta Nive. Ulak Barbahoy.
Onea, Lorray.
Yazif Gumau.
The same looking sim almost carries a different personality depending on their voice. As a bonus in the Sims game, we support left and right-handedness as well. It is randomized in game, and it adds a little bit of sense of reality. Now let's look at objects. The Sims 4 team wants to give players an ability to create an environment which fits their unique, authentic story. For that, in every pack we ship, we introduce more colors, shapes and sizes, styles, and configuration of the object Sims interact with. For example, a chair is one of the most fundamental objects people use in everyday life. This simple furniture has an amazing number of varieties. First, chairs come in different colors, shapes and sizes, styles, functions, and configurations. Of course, there are many other examples, and we will see a couple more in the in-depth section later in the talk. Now let's look at how animation team supports character customization in depth. First, in CAS, players can choose between elder and toddler. Teens, adults, and elders share the same animation most of the time. Children start from adult animations, and they go through a child aesthetic treatment. Here's an animation of an adult Sim's happy reaction. The animation was done using a default mesh in Maya. There are white lines on the body texture to help animators to see the body arc or mesh deformation better. When an adult animation is done, we use a tool in Maya to transfer an adult animation to a child. Adult and child rigs have the same joint structure and bone count, and the only difference is the size and proportion. The transfer tool retargets adult animation to a child rig and replaces adult mesh with a child default mesh. After the direct port, adult acting on a child tends to look a little too mature for them because children act less calculated, more energetic, and generally bouncier. To achieve more childlike acting, we have a general aesthetic guideline. We make arcs in spine and hands bigger. We exaggerate on anticipation, making child go up and down more, and add more tilt in their head to make them look more inquisitive and cuter. Their hands and fingers are adjusted to make hand poses to look less complex and less mature as well. So what about toddlers? That's a good question. Because they behave so differently from the rest of the age group, their animations are created just for them. Now let's look at how animation team supports animation for all genders. The majority of the Sims animation work for all genders. Before we start animating, we intentionally choose gender agnostic acting by focusing on what we have in common as human beings, such as motivation, emotion, wants, and fears. We evaluate what drives Sim to do the interaction in the game context, then come up with an acting that works for all. Here's Sim's cheer animation done in Maya on a default mesh, and here's male and female Sims in our game engine. Even when we bring gender in acting with stereotypical roles such as proposing, we leave the final choice to our players, and they can play any way they want. If you look at all these three examples, you may have noticed that the same animation works for not just different genders, but also different body types. Shapes of body can change depending on your age, gender, and body type. Clothes Sims wear also changes their overall body shape. They can wear a form-fitting dress like this, or they could be wearing bulky winter jackets and pants. This wide variety of character customization poses a big challenge to animation team. How do we make animation work for all body shapes? Here's an animation of Sim's reaction to ice cream she just ate. She's rubbing her belly with a smile. We first create the animation using a default mesh in Maya, and we want to play the same animation on a larger mesh as well. But if you simply change the body shapes, this happens. Because hand controls don't have the information of the body shape change, hands clip into Sim's body. This problem doesn't just exist with animations where Sim's hand make contact with her body mesh like this example, but any animation where Sim's hands are near the body, which turned out to be pretty much every animation that we shipped in game. To solve this problem, we came up with a way to make our animation aware of the Sim's body shape change and adjust hands animation to account for it. Our solution is called slotting. Slotting is a system of relative IK. It places dozens of markers on the surface of the Sim's body called slot joints and binds them to the mesh. The position of these slot joints are adjusted to extreme body shapes and each piece of clothing to mark where the surface is. As Sim's mesh changes its shape, each joint moves with it. Then animators parent Sim's hand to one or more slot joints during the whole animation. For example, when Sims are in stand pose, which is what you see on the left side of the screen, each hand control is slotted to a joint located upper outer thighs. As Sims move their hands, animators create soft transition between slot joints from one area of influence to the next. In this example, parenting changes from a slot joint near the right outer thigh to joints near her belly. We have internal tool to create parenting transition as well as preview the slotting result in Maya. After the slotting is done, the animation now works with a large female mesh. Once the animation is approved, we export the animation clip to test clipping in Sims Animation Engine. In the engine, you can test animations on any character you can generate in-game. Our animation engine calculates Sim's hand's position according to the position of the slot of each character. Now you can see the animation playing on a large female mesh, as well as lean and large male Sims. But why stop here? How about a humanoid bot who thinks that he has a belly? Or a college mascot like this blue lobster guy? Every animation we create for The Sims 4 are tested against a wide variety of shapes to make sure that the motion looks good with players' customization. Now let's look at two-sim interaction. The same concept applies for social animations as well. Here's Hug. Before slotting, when animation plays on a large mesh, clipping happens again. Our system allows Sim's hands to be parented to not only on her own mesh, but also on other Sims' mesh. After slotting, clipping is gone, and it works in Animation Engine as well. Just so you know, in the Sims games, animals are Sims too. The same hog animation works with short-haired dogs with leaner body, as well as fluffy dogs with thicker torso. For any animation which requires touching the face, we use 3 slot joints on the head. There are 2 on each side, its ear, and 1 on the mouth. You may have noticed that there's no slot joints on the top of the head, and why is that? It is to allow Sims to wear many different shapes of heads. Slot joints are strategically placed to account for creative freedom as well as efficiency. It's a contract between character modeling and animation teams. While animation has freedom to touch any area with slot joints, we make acting choice to avoid areas without. Instead of scratching head to show that they're confused, excuse me, the GIF sometimes gets stuck and it doesn't want to play, but I can act out for you. So instead of scratching head, we just shake their head with the hands up, or we tilt their head. So what if we want to get really close to an area with no slots? In Cottage Living, our latest expansion pack, we wanted to show an intimate moment between human and cow. The image on the left is the original animation, and it looks very intimate, and it works great if Sims are not wearing hats. Unfortunately, the brim of the hat can cut through cow's eyes, and that was a no-go. So we decided to get more room between cow and human Sims faces while keeping the intimacy as much as possible. Here's the result of the change. And again, unfortunately, the GIF is stuck, but don't worry. We can see it. We can see what it looks like in game instead. So the Sim is wearing a big brimmed hat, but it doesn't cause any major clipping, and their intimacy level is still there, and this is usually what we aim for. While this acting consideration helps us to achieve the best customization for our players, sometimes we push things to the extreme, such as these bunny characters. Yes, it's unstuck. This allows us to have whimsical and fun characters like this bunny costume in game. And speaking of which, whenever we introduce new occult NPCs and new costumes in extreme shapes, production, art direction, character modeling, and animation work closely together to land at the optimal balance between artistic freedom, animation fidelity, and ideal player satisfaction. I briefly mentioned that Sims can be either right or left-handed, and the best way to tell is to see which hand Sims use when they are carrying things in game. In the Sims game, Sims can hold various objects while walking or performing various interactions. Let's use the ice cream reaction again, and let's say Sim is holding a cup while playing that reaction. We don't make new animations for every single thing Sims can hold in the game. The Sims animation engine allows multiple animations can be layered on top of each other, just like Photoshop layers and masks. There are multiple animation tracks each animation clip can play in, and most interaction animations play in the normal track. And we layer a cup holding pose on top of the normal track while masking out the area where we don't want the pose to affect. In this example, the cup holding pose only affects the fingers, wrist, forearm, and the upper arm. The cup holding hand is parented to a slot joint called left hand carry, and it is located in the left stomach area. The carry joint is bound to the Sim's body, and it drives Sim's cup holding hand to move as the Sims move their body, even though it is just a static pose. So what if Sim is right-handed? In the Sims engine, we can use a parameter called carry state and a mirror widget. So if Sim is holding a cup with the right hand, the animation gets mirrored. Earlier, I mentioned that Sims can have a unique voice by choosing different voice actors and shifting pitch. The uniqueness is not just in the sound of the voice. Each animation has multiple dialogues for the same animation from each voice actor. In-game, sometimes Sims even speak differently depending on their mood for the same animation. Mood is the result of gameplay, not player customization, but it elevates the quality of uniqueness of a Sim to a different level. To maximize this voice uniqueness, we developed lip flap tech. Facial animations are created without a jaw movement. Our audio team records multiple unique dialogues. Once in-game, the gain level, in other words, the volume of the voice, determines how much the jawbone moves up and down in-game. It makes the mouth of the Sims perfectly synchronized with each dialogue. What you see on the screen is a close-up of a paranoid trait animation animated without a jaw movement. And here's an example of how many unique dialogue Sims can have for the same animation in-game.
Chinkataroo.
Ooh, Strongy Taru.
Narbanoy. Nibarbanoy. Krevin.
Uh-huh.
Ayabani. Harfane Chobaba Exanoy.
There are times you want the mouse to open without saying anything, like when Sims open their mouse to eat. In that case, we add a special note tag to the animation clip that communicates to the game to use animated jaw instead of audio gain level driven jaw. This allows Sims to eat without having to say ah every time they have a bite. This wraps up the in-depth look in character customization. And now let's look at interactable objects and how the animation team supports maximizing visual varieties. Before animators start animating a new interactable object, modeling and animation team agree on a block model first. It is usually a model with yellow and green surfaces, and it works as a contract between animation and modeling. Yellow surface means the maximum volume of the object, and green surface means a guaranteed surface. The concept team and object modeling team have creative freedom to come up with as many varieties as possible, as long as the final model contains the shape of the green surface and it does not get bigger than the yellow surface. Animation team can use the green surface whenever Sims needs to touch or make contact with the object. For example, in the Basta block model, Sims touch the edge of the block model when she's getting in or getting out, right there. But Sims doesn't touch anywhere else. And mermaids follow the same rule. Their tail only touches the same area. For dolls and doll houses, Sims can hold the doll at the green surface of the doll block model and play the doll on the green surface of the doll house block model. The concept and object modeling team then creates varieties of dolls and doll houses which fit the block models. Every child in this slide is on the left side of the doll house, except for the girl at the bottom right. In fact, it's the same animation, mirrored and placed at the right side of the model, and that is thanks to something called a subroot. Subroot is another way to make unique interactable objects in terms of sizes and configurations. Generally, a root joint means a joint in the top hierarchy, which indicates the center of the object. Subroot is a concept which Sims 4 animation tech team developed to indicate the center of the individual parts of the object. For example, a spaceship jungle gym's root is located at the center of the object, whereas each subroot is located at each part Sims use. Subroot 0 is used for Sims to play with a wheel. Subroot 1, a cannon. Without a subroot, only one Sim can access the object. Subroots allow multiple Sims to use the same object at the same time, so multiple children can play at the jungle gym all at once. It also allows players to select parts of the object instead of selecting the object as a whole. Maybe a player wants to play with a cannon instead of a wheel. Another important aspect of the subroot is that it allows the same animation clip to play on different subroots without changing, duplicating, and renaming the animation clip as long as the Sim is located at the same angle and distance from the subroot joint. It saves a lot of animation time as well as audio and VFX time. When we can save time on multiple disciplines, we can deliver more fun new interactions and gameplay. So how does it support object variety? Thanks to subroots, our team has freedom to design an object in many sizes and configurations. For example, players want a single bed and a double bed. There are about 500 animation clips that can be played on a bed without duplicating, renaming, tracking animation clips multiple times and hooking them up in the game engine. Animators can use subroots to play the same animation in both single bed and either side of a double bed. They can also get in and out of the bed from either side of the bed using an aforementioned mirror widget. Because subroots allow multiple Sims to use the same object at the same time, Two sims can use the bed at the same time independently, as you can see on the image on the left side. Furthermore, it allows different configurations. We were able to add a Murphy bed and a bunk bed with a small change to the animation suite. Another example of different sizes and configuration in an interactable objects is a hot tub and hot springs. Hot spring is an in-ground object, whereas hot tub is an on-ground object. There are sizes and shapes, the number of people they can hold, and their shapes are different. But their get in and get out animations are also different from each other, but most seated animations are shared. We verify that the animations play correctly at its subroot in our animation engine before we call the animation game ready. The animations are authored at the subroot 0 in Maya, and they are exported with their placement information built in. In the animation engine, we assign which subroot to test the animation at and set the mirroring widget accordingly. The ultimate example of the subroot is a sit template. Sit template is a type of a subroot which is specifically designed for a sitting surface. Each surface sims can sit on will have a sit template as part of their joint structure. And the reason why I call it a sitting surface instead of a chair is because sitting surface covers more than just a chair. I would like to refer back to the sitting variations I covered in the beginning of the talk. Sitting surface is not just chairs in different sizes, styles, and shapes. It is also any surface that sims can sit on, like a poolside or a bedside. Main component of the sit templates are butt and feet IK target joint for adult, child, and toddler. Because Sim's root is parented to a butt IK target and their feet to a feet IK target, they can move as the joint placement changes. So what that means is we can play the same animation on sitting surfaces in different heights. Bar stools are higher than dining chairs, and dining chairs are higher than the living chairs. But we can play the same animation on all of them. You may have noticed that the feet on the bar stool are angled down and tucked in a little bit. This is done procedurally by angling down the feet IK joint of a sit template in the bar stool. This so far has 3 sit templates and Sim is sitting on a sit template 0. But of course, they can sit on the sit template 1 or sit template 2. Adult and child sit templates are similar, but toddler is just a little bit different. Their feet slots are not on the ground, it is on the chair. This allows us to do something a little different. Toddlers not only can nap on any chair, they can also nap on any flat surface like a bed and on the ground. This wraps up our talk today. I have worked on the Sims games for many years, and I saw them evolved as not only as a fun game, a fun casual game to play, which is great on its own, but also as a powerful tool for players to express their creativity, storytelling abilities, and unique expression of themselves. This gives me a tremendous amount of purpose in game development. For that, I'm very happy to share a small portion of how the Sims animation team works to support customization today. Thank you.
All right, so I think if there are any questions for Yusun, they can come use the mics. Is that correct?
Oh, I heard that our time is limited to 30 minutes.
It's true. We only have 1 minute for one question if anybody has one question.
Okay.
All right. Otherwise, thank you so much, Yusun. Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. If you guys.
Oh wait, we do have one question. Yeah, come up here.
One question. But if you have more questions, please DM.
Sorry. I do have one question. So how do you guys handle rigging updates?
That is a very tricky thing because once you have shipped games, changing rigging is very. Like anything that you change, you have to trickle it down to every single pack that you have shipped. So we do it very selectively, but we try to do it in a way that is not destructive to the existing rigging. So if it is additional to what we have, as far as I know, that's generally okay. But changing the rig from fundamentally that affects so much assets in our game. So we try to do it, like achieve the same result in a different way. We just have to get really creative.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Yusun. For everyone
Thank
who's...
you.
Yeah, clap one more time.